That said, Hazel, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right. First item on the agenda is the adoption and modification of the agenda. Is there a motion on the floor?
So moved.
Right, is there any discussion? If not, please vote. Please join the meeting first too. Okay. Next item on the our next item is the consent agenda. The consent agenda consists of the regular session minutes for April 10th, reorganization meetings for April 10th, supplemental pay D for May 2024, bills for payment for May 2024, the career ladder for fiscal year 25, Durham School Services Contract, the personnel report, returning staff extra duty agreements, EAB Research Group Contract, 2024 school board meeting dates, and 2024 debate national travel request. We have a motion to approve the consent agenda.
So moved. Second.
Is there any discussion? Okay, if not, please vote. Are we having to vote separately on each one of those?
No. I don't think so. It always just pops up as the first
Okay.
one.
All right, on to the next. Communications, comments from the audience. Jolie?
Definitely.
There. All right, next item, 9.2 superintendent update.
Yes, and I want to apologize to the board for not saying this at the beginning, but we're actually just going to stay up front the entire time. I'm going to borrow Mr. Hedgecourt's microphone so that way it's not us getting up and down the entire time. So what I'd like to do is invite the board, and I'll go stand next to Mr. Hedgecourt as we do our student recognition. I would like to invite the members of our Winter Guard State team to please stand, including their coaches. Yes, please clap. Go ahead, clap. The SHS Winter Guard achieved an outstanding result at the Mid-Continent Color Guard Association State Championship, placing second in the competition. Led by Christy Seaball and assistant coach Heather Prince, the team delivered an inspiring performance that showcased their dedication, teamwork, and skill. The remarkable achievements brings great pride to the high school and sets high standards for future teams. Please join me in congratulating our Winter Guard team. We would like the opportunity, if we can get the microphone for you guys, to introduce yourselves. If anyone came with you, please introduce them, and then we would invite the coaches and you guys to all walk through and shake our board's hand, and then we'll get a picture with you afterwards, please.
Hello, I'm Jenna Michael. I'm one of the co-captains this year, and I'm the junior on the team. I came with my mom, and it's just been a great season with you guys.
I'm McKenna Mosby. I am a senior, and I was the other co-captain on the team. I came with my parents, and I agree. It was just an amazing way to finish off my senior career.
Parents, please wave when they missed you. I apologize.
My name is Kimberly Schoffer. I came here with my parents and my sister. I am a senior this year, and the three of us is half our team. So that's it.
Well, if you guys wouldn't mind coming up and shaking the board's hand, coaches, please join them and then we'll get a picture.
We'll start with us. Congratulations.
And parents, we will pause to let you guys take pictures.
Nice job. Congrats.
Great job. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
Yeah, come on back up and pose for a picture.
All right, we're gonna take you guys to come up. We're all gonna get really close because there's not gonna be a first one. Go ahead, guys, get right in front of me. We'll all get southern. Are we all?
Out just a little bit. Work in the
Parents, you guys want to get in there, just tell me.
Are you ready?
Congratulations. All right, the next group we are going to recognize are a group of students who were chosen by the Missouri School Boards Association to join Advocacy Day at the state capitol. On April 9th, the cadet teachers were able to visit the Jefferson City and state capitol. There, they showcased their passion for education during the Missouri School Boards Association Student Advocacy Day. They shared their journey as teaching interns with visitors from all corners of the state, leaving a lasting impression. I will say, having been down there with them that day, there was a lot of people that kept walking by to shake their hand in particular. They were very impressed with our students. Representatives Josh Hurlbert and Chris Brown took time to engage with our teachers. I believe they even got to go visit with Chris Brown in his tiny little office. So I know you guys didn't all fit at the same time. And these confident leaders did an outstanding job representing the Smithville School District. We would like to also recognize their teacher, Miss Jolie McCrary. And if you are a cadet teacher, please stand. We'll pass the microphone around. Please again, follow the same pattern. Introduce yourselves, anyone that came with you, then we'll have you guys come up, shake hands. And Miss McCrary asks you to join them as well.
Hello, my name is Kira Lamson. I brought my mom, Jackie, with me.
I'm Kaylee Mason and I brought my mom.
Hi, my name is Hazel Lockwood and I brought myself.
Very good. Ms. McCrary, anything you'd like to say about the day?
Yeah, it was a really good experience, I think, for all of the students. We have 8 cadet teachers and I think 7 were able to go that day. We were able to tour the Capitol on top of meeting lots of school board members from across the state. One thing that I thought was really interesting was there were school board members from other cities who wanted to know more about our program and how they could implement something similar at their school district to grow their own teachers. And so I think our students really impressed people around the state. So that was just a really neat experience for everyone.
Please join and shake the board's hand and we'll get a picture with you afterwards. I would like to invite all of them to return if they do go in education in 4 to 5 years, depending on how long you can keep going. They're going to sneak right by you. Thanks.
Congratulations, Kara. Congratulations, Kaylee. Congrats, Hazel. Nice job, Miss McCrary.
Get another picture. Congratulations. Our next group we're going to be recognizing are our Future Business Leaders of America state recipients. In April, students from our high school attended the state FBLA competition, achieving remarkable success in multiple categories. We had several members earn top 10 medalists. And those members, if you are here as an FBLA member, please stand and give us a little wave as we call out your name. We have Ellie Herner and Mason West, Business Management, top 10 placement. Lily Burns and Adam Hamaza and James Franklin, Website Coding and Development, top 10. We have McKinley Massey, Intro to Public Speaking, and I believe qualified for nationals. We have Andrea Burns and Mikey Tanner, qualified in American Business, or American Enterprise, I apologize, and Matt Summers, qualified in Intro to Business Communications and finished in the top 10. Congratulations, guys. Is there is your teacher here? Oh, there she is. There's Miss Marsh. I'm like, I thought I said. Destiny Marsh is our sponsor. Was there anything you'd like to share before we have the students introduce themselves? That doesn't have to be.
Just that I'm proud of these kids. We've in 3 years have grown to a pretty significant group, and a lot of events are new for us. And so they're doing fantastic. I'm proud of them. And we also, in all fairness, let me give credit to a few others that did place that couldn't be here. There was Nathan Fletcher in coding and programming, and Isabel Monticello also traveled with us, as well as Destiny Salazar and Dominic Santulli.
Good, thank you. Please introduce yourselves. Please introduce yourselves to anyone that came with you, then we'll take your guys' picture.
Hi, I'm McKinley Massey, and my brother's here with me.
For coming down.
I'm James Franklin, and my 2 parents came with me.
I'm Mason West, and I'm flying solo today.
Matt Summers, and I'm here with my father.
Very good. Well, congratulations, guys. Go through and shake hands. We'll make sure everyone can get pictures. And Miss Martinez going, yes.
Congratulations. Congrats. Congratulations. Congratulations. Nice job, friends. Yeah.
Great work. Thank you.
Congratulations. You can actually turn back around for a picture. Congratulations. You guys can turn back around. We'll take a picture up front. Thank you. Congratulations. Yes, I'm getting a picture. Oh.
Not getting away that easy, lady. He's almost as tall as Destiny on his knees.
Parents, please come on. Any relatives that want to do another one? I got it. Okay. Thank you, guys. Congratulations. Finally, we'd like to recognize our students that participate in Northland Career Center. For those that are not familiar, Northland Career Center serves multiple school districts across the Northland area, everywhere from North Kansas City, Liberty, Park Hill, Kearney, all the way up to Weston. Did you guys hit Lathrop this year? Nope. Weston, we have a large number of students that has been around since I went here. Always have very popular programs, and they have a program called Skills USA, and we have several state recipients there as well. So as I call your name, please stand up or wave, and then we're going to have Mr. Green, who's the director there, talk a little bit about what Skills USA is as well, and introduce any staff because I see a couple of his staff members here. Our students who attend Northland Career Center competed at Skills USA in April at the State Technical College in Missouri. We are proud to introduce the students who placed at the state competition, as well as, I believe, is Miss Ryan here? There she is. Very good. Teresa Ryan. We have Alex Britton, nursing assisting. Thanks for waving. Gavin Pratty, crime scene investigation. But I believe Gavin also qualified for nationals. Is that correct? We have Kaylee Mackey, Career Pathways Showcase Human Services Team. And we have Merrick Wilson, a Career Services Pathway Human Services Team as well. Mr. Green, anything you'd like to share?
Sure. Thanks for having us tonight. It's an honor for Northland Career Center to be invited to any of our sending school board meetings to talk about and brag on your kids and our kids. So it's a fantastic evening for us. I want to introduce my two staff members. Miss Ryan already waved, so Mrs. Ryan loves to be right in the spotlight. So everybody wave at Mrs. Ryan. And Miss Chef Brandy Moritz is sitting down. She's trying to hide as well, but she's our culinary arts instructor and is also one of our co-sponsors of Skills USA. So Skills USA, for those of you that don't know, is a career and technical student organization that is designed to allow students to compete in leadership skills, the skill of their trade, whatever it might be, whether it's diesel heavy equipment or it's culinary or all the things you've already heard about today. And then technical skills as well. So there's a lot of different contests, and we are kind of proud of our reputation as a Skills USA chapter. We send students to nationals. Basically, I've been there 8. This is year 8, and every single year we send a contingency to nationals, and that's based on the hard work that these students do and our advisors do to prep them for those that day, that week. So it's a very exciting time for these guys, and they're prepping for nationals and getting ready for what's next. So congratulations to all of them, and can't be more proud. So
Would you mind giving the students the mic so they can
absolutely
introduce themselves? Yeah, they really.
Okay, hi, I'm Lexi. I competed in Nurse Tech Info, Nurse Assisting, and Medical Math and made it to state for all 3.
I'm Kaylee Mackey. I'm in culinary arts and I did the career pathway showcase and I was second at districts and I went to state, which was cool.
My name is Merrick. I also did Career Pathway Showcase and made it to state, ended up getting second, and I'm also in the culinary arts program.
Career Pathway Showcase. That's one that I like to explain a little bit. Teams of students have to pick a topic and present, but the really challenging part is they have to have industry support and industry contacts and connections to make that happen. So it's not something they just put together and give a speech. There's a large amount of time spent outside of school or and reaching out to the business partners to make that happen. So it's a big deal to get to state and especially going to nationals and Career Pathway Showcase. So just want to make sure, since nobody really knows what that is, I'll just explain that one. So thank you very much.
If you guys would all come and shake hands, and I don't think they took a chance. Are there any of your parents here? If you guys would wave, so thank you, parents.
Congratulations. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. Teresa, thanks so much.
Good job. Congratulations.
Come on, Jeff. You don't get to hide in the back. You have to shake our hands. Nice job. Thank you.
Yeah, we'll move around you guys. Any other families, parents ones? All right. Thank you guys. Please know you are all welcome to stay and enjoy the rest of the board meeting. But if you have been through your part, you're also welcome to leave.
No offense.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I
Be
get it.
more awkward.
Haven't got it yet. Let's see.
Thank you for including. I've never got to see anything. I know, but we've never done it.
Oh.
I think it's cool. That's somebody we never. Okay.
And they're,
It's good. And
Fun group.
I like the little change of just standing.
yeah, just,
And dude, that was better.
I am so sorry that I meant to do that last month. Did not get it done.
Getting better.
User error right there.
Okay, next up, assistant.
I still have just a couple pieces I wanted to add. Cut me off yet.
Whoa,
I want Rob to stay longer. He hadn't been in a board meeting in a while.
we need to get this thing moving.
Yeah. We did finish up our last key communicator at Horizon Elementary. Appreciated the turnout. One of the things that occurred that was a little bit unique at Horizon, there were several families that either were transitioning into middle school or had a student there and shared a lot of insight, transition to high school. So it kind of hit the span of K-12. I do want us to continue to think about how we engage in that process because it's so valuable, but try to get more people there. I'd love for us to figure out a way where we have too many people just to have an open conversation. But it's great to have it just one more layer of insight. Want to thank everyone who came out to the district art show, the pancake breakfast, or the middle school musical, 8th grade musical that they put on. It was tremendous weekend. I love the senior showcases that were set up. It was great to have all of our elementary schools represented as well. That is an event we look forward to doing and want to keep doing in the future. I want to thank everyone who has participated or engaged in the incoming kindergarten. We actually got several pieces of feedback about how much they appreciated that process. One from board member Nichols, which was nice for him to say, but it was great to see how many families came up getting those students ready to go. We do have commencement coming this Friday. I put in the Friday update the incorrect time that the pictures will be at 6:30. Ms. Kopp reminded me that those will be at 6. So we'll meet down at the WAC and we are hoping for no rain. That's all I have. President Jacob.
Yeah. I was gonna
Dr.
say-
Moss.
Yeah.
Mr. Moore.
Hey guys. We're gonna have supper in the cafeteria at 6. We're gonna have walking tacos before graduation. You're welcome to come join us, guys.
Team tacos before graduation.
Thank you.
Calendar right now.
I know, that's my favorite.
6 o'clock in the cafe. We can thank Dr. Cradfield. She helped set that up. So for those that are gonna have a long day, we're gonna provide them some supper.
Fantastic. All right. Thank you. Good luck.
It's awesome.
Yeah, sorry. Jumped some subjects there. Family. I just wanted to say also that, yeah, it was a great experience with the kindergarten.
Yeah.
Experience at Eagle Heights. I thought they did a great job. There's been so many things that have happened between last board meeting and this board meeting, so it's kind of hard to list everything. So
Yeah, I mean, Rachel and Justin did a great job. They had kids leaders around to take families, and it was really cool because the kids were way more energetic than like some of the teachers that had been there all day working and had to stay late. Like the kids were just high energy and very informational and just wanted to talk, and it was good because my kid likes to talk. So it was really good. A lot of good feedback, I think, from parents.
all right, anybody else? All right, next up, Assistant Superintendent of Academic Services.
Thank you. So by the end of this week, we will be done with all of our state testing except for makeups. And I want to give a shout out to our building principals and our assistant principals and as well as our counselors, who all take, I mean, this is a huge part of what they're doing right now, and monitoring to make sure that we've tested everyone. As we know, we have to make sure we test 95% of our students, and they are very diligent about getting the makeups done and greatly appreciate that. So it is a lot of work. It's a lot of pressure for our kids and our teachers. And so if you see any of them, tell them job well done and congratulations on getting done with testing. They will appreciate that. In addition to graduation on Friday, NCC's graduation is on Saturday morning. It'll be at the Platte County High School Field House. And if you would like to join me there at 10 a.m., would love to see you, but it really is a fun event with several awards presented at that time, along with the kids receiving their diplomas from NCC. It takes about an hour, but it is really a wonderful celebration of our students and all of their efforts there. Last day of school, week from Friday. Oh my gosh, can't believe it. It's a half day, but yeah, we've come to the end, you guys. I have a bullet here to provide some other updates. I have an update as of this afternoon. So you all are aware that for the last 13 years, we've used NWA as our benchmark assessment. Well, last month when you approved iReady as our K-8 math program, part of that includes their benchmark assessment for mathematics. Prior to last year, we didn't use it K-8. We had it only in grades 1 through 6. So this opened up an opportunity for us to reevaluate whether we wanted to remain with NWA or perhaps move to iReady. Just a little bit of history. 13 years ago, when we were doing the research on our benchmark, it was those two that we were deciding between. It was either NWA or iReady. When we looked at the cost of adding just the ELA assessment, it's not the curricular resources, although it does provide some intervention resources to go along with the diagnostic. It was $15,000 extra. That also includes the reading fluency, which we began using last year. The law was passed the year before last, where we had to have a reading fluency assessment, K-3. So by switching from NWA to iReady, we will actually save the district about $20,000 and have a system that is, I mean, our teachers know it because they've already been using it with the iReady mathematics. It will become more of a seamless part of the instruction. We feel like it will be the direction that it provides for teachers as far as interventions and enrichment and the ease of implementation, because it's part of our system already. We feel like will be a win-win. So this afternoon, a committee convened and weighed the pros and cons and decided that that would be the route we're going to go. And I'll let you add anything that you would like related to that discussion.
We had teachers that were able to review the resource. We had administrators and our reading interventionists, as well as our curriculum coordinator on that committee. And so the things that they especially liked about iReady is it's very teacher friendly, very student friendly, and there's really great parent reports as well. So it's doing everything that we currently have except better. So we're really excited to try it out and get going with it. And it meets all of our state requirements. And if it's something that the teachers find easier to use, then it's a win for all of us.
At the high school level, we also use NWA, but I can tell you that the data is not important to our high school teachers. This year was the first year that in addition to the ACT at 11th grade, we also administered the pre-ACT to 10th graders and the pre-ACT 8-9 to our 9th graders. There's data that comes related to that we feel will be more appreciated by our high school staff. And so rather than giving NWA benchmarks at that level, we'll be using that data for the time being. So yeah, that's all I have unless you have any questions.
Will there be any way to, we won't be able to compare NWEA data to iPledge that first couple years, right? So we'll take a.
Right. The measure that they use is different.
Is it? Okay.
But so it'll be starting over on that. Yeah, I think it'll be good. I think it will be, like I said, a seamless piece of the instruction and the assessment. I just feel like it's a step in the right direction for our teachers.
For both programs, did they offer or one of the reports include where they anticipate that grade level of student to be at either months or time within the year, as well as do we have the ability to tailor the program to the standards that the state of Missouri and that we have identified to teach?
Yes to both of those.
And this program also gives a lexile for reading, which is something that NWA could not, which the reading teachers find very valuable.
NWA gave a range, but not an exact number. Thank you.
Any other questions? If not, Mr. Hedgecorth.
All right, thank you, Mr. Jacoby. We have some construction updates, and we had a lot of progress completed in the last month, even though we had a lot of rain. So kudos to our contractors that are working in and out of those situations and getting a lot done. So the first one I'd like to talk about is our transportation facility. If you've driven along 92 highway, you'll notice that all the steel's erected. You have the outer core shell constructed, as well as probably about half of the roof to date. And so that is some great progress. We are, of course, hoping to get that dried in as soon as possible. And the estimates for that were around the end of next week. So at the end of next week, they think they'll be dried in. They might not have some windows and some doors, but it'll be enough to where they can work inside even if it's raining. So once we get past that point, then some of the inclement weather won't affect them as much as it has in the past. So that's great. So just to kind of explain on our big screen there what we're looking at on some of these items, what you see in that first picture is the loading dock. And so this is the only loading dock we have on campus. In the past, we talked about how we had to handle deliveries in the past, which was cumbersome and delayed. And so now we have one place where if we do have large deliveries, might be a large order of supplies for different schools, we can have them delivered to our loading dock. They won't be disturbing the traffic flow on campus. Some of you guys may have come in and seen a big semi, not know where to go and park there, which is disturbing. And then they can unload right there, and then our maintenance trucks can grab the materials and disseminate those to the schools. So that will be a great additional feature. And then the second area you can see there is the mezzanine deck. And so right above the offices is a storage deck. If you ever talk to any teachers, principals, or anybody in the district, I know Michelle will atone to this.
Yeah.
Always need storage space for summer school items and things like that. So that will add another area for us to have storage that's dry and not in some of the old one classroom trailers that you see that we use kind of right now around the campus. And then the third picture there is just kind of the color of what that metal outer shell looks like. The color is very similar to the Warrior Activity Center. And then the front part, I wish I would have took a picture of the front part of the building. Maybe they did it later. Nope. The front part of the building has a brick wainscot around the front. So as you look at it from 92, it does give it a nice kind of professional look. So appreciate them doing that. So right now, a lot of electricians, a lot of the, they're trying to finish that roof, but once they get that in, then the plumbers will continue to come in and start to continue to work on the inside of that building. So it's fast and furious right now, and we're still hoping for the second and third week of July. The good news is even if the inside building's not done, that doesn't keep Durham Bus from bringing buses and parking them in the parking lot and getting those situated for what they need, even if the inside of the building isn't quite wrapped up yet. So the other projects we have on campus, and just this is okay. So sorry, I don't want to jump to the other ones just yet. A couple more things on transportation. One of the things that we're excited here is right now all our buses have to go to one of the gas stations in town to get their diesel fuel. And so this will house some diesel and unleaded tanks. So that way our buses will be able to fill up at the transportation facility. Less wasted time. I don't know if you guys remember that gas station shut down for like 3 or 4 weeks to remodel, and we were scrambling trying to figure out where we're going to take our buses to get gasoline. So we'll use that station as a backup in case something happens with our tanks, which isn't going to happen, but at least we have it as a backup. But they'll fuel here 99.9% of the time, and that will allow us to buy in bulk, to get discounts, and continue to have some efficiencies for that as well. And then this is just showing the curb. I don't know why that's felt like that was exciting, but probably one reason is once that curb is poured, they are going to start installing all the landscaping along our boundary between us and Stonebridge. And so that'll be exciting to see that come up. And I'm sure those residents there will appreciate the greenery between the two properties as well. All right, our middle school athletic field. So they have finished the turf. It is done. Right now, they're just finishing up some of the drainage. They're going to redo that chat and kind of smooth that out and put some more of that. And they're putting down the grass sod in the D zones, which is between the end zone and the track, and kind of finishing that up right now. And so this will be ready and available as long as weather cooperates by the 1st of June. So we did not anticipate it's about a month ahead of time. So this will really allow expanded area for the summer. We have a lot of camps, whether they're high school age, middle school age, youth age, for them to utilize both areas, the front athletic field here and then the one behind the middle school. So I know the coaches are excited for that. And then of course, during the regular school year, it'll be used all day long as well as after school. So they did a fantastic job working on that. site as well. Well, what we don't have pictures of is the high school gym. So the bleachers have been completely removed in the high school gym, and they have also been able to get in the locker rooms. They pulled out every single locker. They put down protective flooring on the wood floor, and then they're putting in, doing some saw cuts and things like that for the structural steel. That's going to give that mezzanine additional support because you'll have hundreds of people on that. And that's what they're currently doing now. They're also knocking out that stage. They felt like that demolition of the stage will probably be done by the end of this week. And so if you walk through the building, they don't want you to go into the doors, but those doors do have windows, so you can kind of peek in there and see, that stage and all that wood fascia come down and get that going. So that's exciting as well. Things are moving right along. I did want to show our updated project for finances and timeline. And so just to give you an update on transportation, I know in the beginning we used a lot of contingencies. I'd say we have about 50 to 60,000 left in contingencies there. And we have one item we're looking at with making sure we fireproof some areas where the mezzanine connects to the roof. But besides that, we don't anticipate anything else. So we think we will be in budget there. And then the middle school field will have some contingencies come back to us. There's only one small drainage thing there that they needed to tweak. And so budget wise, we're looking good on these as well. So
Is there any major spend left at the turf field, or is most of it's
most of it's done? Yeah. Yeah. I think we have, what is that, about 500,000 left, 544,000 left in the middle school field. So yeah, we'll just get that final billing from some of those contracts. They're usually about a month behind on what you see the progress or what they build. And then the HVAC VAV installation at middle school and Horizon will start in June, and they hope to wrap that up middle of July. They'll start at Horizon and then go to the middle school second. So happy to answer any questions about construction.
Any questions? Okay, next item, Mr. Hedgecorth.
Yes. General financial review. I don't have anything here except for next month. Of course, is a big month for our budgets. We're going to have our final budget revision for FY24, and then our preliminary budget for FY25. And so expect those to come next month. And so those will be some big financial features. If there is any type of recommendation tonight on 11.1, then you will see those numbers built in to those budgets for FY25.
Info only. Anybody else? Okay, on to the next. Policy BCE. Oh, board committees, sorry. Into. All right, info.
Would just be an update from our finance committee. Patrick or Stacia, either. Oh. Pointed first.
We did spend a little bit of time talking about the ESCO request that we're going to be discussing. Scott had several good questions, but I figured we'll be revisiting that, so I wasn't going to spend a lot of time there. It was a really good opportunity to look at and discuss budget numbers and see what they look like now and what they look like in the future. Playing with some assumptions, but also playing with some of the things that we're starting to feel more confident about coming down the line, which ultimately, and I don't want to speak for all of us, but I believe we all said it really provided a great deal of comfort for the recommendations that are coming forward this evening.
Yeah, I would say we've come a long ways the last couple months with our understanding of where we're at. And I'd like to thank Mr. Hedgecorth and Dr. Moss for really diving in. We've come a long way since January, February with our first understanding of where we're going to be budgetarily. So, and our comfort level is much better now. So going forward.
Yeah, and Robert built some models for us to use now that we'll be able to carry in the future, which pretty extensive Excel sheets that probably weren't easy to build, but they're definitely super helpful from a visual standpoint for us to be able to not just look at now, but look into the future. So
Excellent. It's the only update from the finance committee. So, next item. Okay, now we're to policy BC for the third reading.
Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna make a motion that we table this until July of 2024 meeting. And the reason is because, I think we should wait until the board review is completed, so we have a full vision and a purpose. And we can identify certain committees that complement the board and the district. We've got some language issues, verbiage issues. We don't have a standard of practice or a code of conduct developed. And I think we could spend more time during and after the retreat. So I'm gonna ask that we wait until July of 2024 meeting to. Say it again. No, just kidding.
Say it all again.
I just said.
So you're asking for it to be moved to the July meeting.
Mhm.
To the July, not after July meeting, but to the July.
Table to the July 2024 meeting.
All right, so there's a motion on the floor. Is there
I'll
a
second
second?
that.
Yeah, the second. Is there more discussion around this? Okay. Fantastic. Let's please vote. And we're voting yes to move it
Move it,
to
right?
July.
Yes,
Just
okay.
so everybody's
Yes.
clarified
Okay.
there. So it's kind
Oh,
of
yeah,
confusing
that
words
word.
there.
Yep.
So-
Sorry.
It's not what it says.
Yeah.
I'm sure.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, motion passes. Next item. Approve MSBA 2023D board policy revisions for the third reading. Right, go ahead.
Yeah, there is some changes in there. Like I shared before, the biggest pieces in here is regarding marijuana being legalized in the state of Missouri. I've tried to be very, and I don't know the best way to say it, but while there is additional language, it does not really change practice of what the school district has engaged in. I believe that the main purpose is to further clarify for those that aren't familiar with what those practices are. There was also a piece in there regarding some student discipline things. I've worked with NEA as well as our principals. There was confusion and academic dishonesty that has been cleaned up at this point. I was able to meet, I'm looking at Mr. Logan, is why I'm doing that. But there was a conversation. I see Mrs. Parks right behind him because it was a conversation that we had on Monday. It's an or statement. We have options within there that our principals can move forward with. So those are the major changes. It does not change any current practice for us within regarding marijuana, regarding what we do with student discipline. It's simply clarifying from the state level because it's now legalized.
Thank you for your input.
Yeah.
That was helpful.
Is it a thumbs up or thumbs down for Mr. Logan? It's thumbs up.
Is that movie?
Yeah. Well, is there a motion on the floor?
make a motion to approve the MSBA board policies outlined in 10.4.
Right, is there a second?
Second.
All right,
Yes.
any further discussion? If not, please vote. Motion passes. And I'm not sure what's going on this evening. We're moving along so
Record
quickly
speed,
through
yeah.
the policies. That was kind of an
Oh, jinxes.
I know. All right, so next up, compensation recommendation for 2024, 2025.
You can see in the memo, we've, after working with the finance committee, boards provided a great amount of input. I think it was really valuable last year to be able to make that February commitment. this year during a non-reassessment year, there's additional challenges, as well as really trying to get our hands around what, now that we actually see buildings being built at the data center, what that means for us financially. I'd like to thank Robert for really digging in and having contacts with both Kansas City. We met with Clay County, called Kansas City again to further the information. And I think they may use his model moving forward on how to figure out the payment, because they're like, yeah, everything you have is right within your calculation. So appreciate that. Appreciate, there's a gentleman named Mike Jacoby at Clay County. While we worked with Tracy Baldwin, the assessor. Yeah, no relation, no relation to Scott Jacoby. But while we contact Tracy Baldwin as the county assessor, he always brings in his team, and they were so helpful. Robert and I went over there 2 weeks ago just for a 20-minute conversation, and they brought in 5 people to make sure that everyone in the room had the same understanding, provided us some insight on data centers previously, because in a non-reassessment year, that's the majority of any type of new revenue we have coming in. The state has passed a budget. We do not anticipate significant changes in revenue. While the SAT did go up, the state adequacy target, our enrollment will actually we'll have a decrease in state revenue because of our enrollment. So if anyone wants to enroll, you're welcome to. We'd like you to enroll. But we do have a recommendation here of the step increase to roll the salary schedule, as well as we gave a range of 5 to 5.3% as the average. If you think of that in cell C10, the way we've talked about that previously, that would be 2,500 to 2,750. Thinking about how transportation is going to be impacted in the future, unknowingly how transportation is going to be impacted, thinking about the commitment that the state of Missouri made in SB 727 of $468 million to $500 million, depending on who you speak to, with revenue decreasing, felt that this would be still aggressive while feeling comfortable with reserves moving forward. And we do believe that both data centers will become much more predictable, is the way really Robert has taught me that, is once the buildings start going up, it becomes predictable. So be happy to answer any questions regarding this.
Yeah, I just, I know the finance committee has spent so much time with this along with the administration. And again, thanks to everybody for putting their time in. And you know, the results have been amazing, really, without a doubt. I just would like to point out that in a non-reassessment year, our prior commitments to our staff in the last 10 years, according to our records, was 4.6% 2 years ago, which was $1,250 to the base. Prior to that was 0. Prior to that was 0%. Prior to that, 1.8%. Prior to that, 0, and prior to that, 0. So we've come a long ways, and we're in a fairly good financial position right now. You know, with our projections, with all the information that we know, I know it's been extremely difficult and challenging to understand the building of the structures and when the dollars will start coming in. And I would like to thank administration for really drilling down on that, because it's allowed us the flexibility to have this conversation this evening. If all of our estimates are correct, it will bring down our reserves a little bit, which we're comfortable. Our reserves are fairly comfortable right now at 24%. I think our ASBR, according to our projections, will probably end at around 23% for our ASBR, 22.5 to 23% for the year. But if we are fairly aggressive this evening, that means the next year will be just about another point down. So we are really in our comfort zone still. And next year will be the completion of one actual building. So then it becomes very predictable on how we can start moving forward. And, you know, it is really trying to coordinate 3 different entities: our school district, our assessor, and the city of Kansas City. And so we're very fortunate to be in this situation. So That's all I have to say.
Would like to thank before Randy comes up, I turned it on, Randy. I gotcha. Would like to thank the board. You know, like I said, February was very nice last year to be able to do that during a reassessment year. It's a little bit harder. Thank you guys for being patient as we continue to work through this process.
Yeah, on both of the recommendations, this range of 5 to 5.3 really kind of focused around an addition of 2,500 or 2,750. The base is where we kind of narrowed our focus on. Both of those figures, we're comfortable with the increase that we see from the data center alone covering that. So that when we talk about the reserves dropping, that's the associated costs of the rest of our district business and budget. But the adder to the base has the potential, if we vote in either one of those situations, to be covered by the additional revenue we expect from the data centers, right?
That's correct.
So
Then from what I'm hearing, you guys have done a lot of great, thank you very much. We should go with the 2,750 then, if we can do it, right? I mean, I'm totally fine with that. Yeah.
One of the things I was gonna say was, and some of you may remember when we met last week, that we were kind of having some fun and joking about the stress that we had put on Dr. Moss during our meeting. But ultimately, what we found was at that 2,750, yes, we were still making a few assumptions down the road, but they weren't out of line. They weren't crazy assumptions, and we were also assuming that there may be some decreases from the state coming as well. So we were playing with all of those things. And at the end, 2,750 looks like it will still be aggressive, but we'll put it, leaving us room to continue to be aggressive instead of potentially boxing us in where we go, oh shoot, that might have been too much, and now we have to pull back the reins. So again, I know it's been said multiple times, but the tool that Robert has was incredible and really allowed us to do a deep dive so that we could come out and look and understand that it's not just about this year. This impacts years down the line as well, and to be comfortable with what is ahead with some of those assumptions and unknowns.
And that's an excellent point about future years. This is not our approach this evening, and what we're considering still allows us, if all of our assumptions, we don't have to have all of our assumptions come true. But with a good comfort level with our assumptions, we can still be aggressive in the future. So, and still push the envelope every year. But now the difficult part is obviously this is a year-to-year basis, and we have to go through this situation of really trying to drill down because it's 3 different organizations working together.
Yeah.
But again, once we get this first building under control, it will become more predictable, and we should feel a lot better going forward. So,
and I know Scott ran through the non-reassessment year past, and I know you made a comment for us to have the ability to set a record in a non-reassessment year should be profound as far as our commitment to our staff.
Yeah.
Well, and I think, we've talked about being aggressively responsible with this. Like, this has been such a big priority for us. What does it say? If this range is approved, we'll have raised compensation by an average of 14.4% over the last 2 years. And I can tell you, we're not satisfied with this. We want to continue on. So I am also in favor. I mean, if you even threw it out there, we were all gonna grab that, the 2,750. With the 7.3%.
And the 14.4% is better than the entire last 10 years combined.
Yeah.
And the data center is the biggest factor in that, isn't it?
Yeah, I would also, I do want to give credit to our
No, I'm not.
building leaders. No, data center is the biggest, but give credit to our building leaders. They helped us dig out of the ESEP hole, and are very cognizant in how they spend their budget. So, it was a team. I think Robert would say
for the longest, and knowing some of these other numbers and knowing some of the stuff beforehand, I don't ever want us to say that like we were doing things wrong back then. It was where we were at the time with the incomes And unfortunately, that's where we were at. So I am so glad though that we are at a
Mm.
position where we can, you know, really do this now. And I appreciate everybody's ability to get there.
Well, and the beautiful thing about these conversations in the finance committee is that we're still pushing more resources into our buildings. And I know our building leaders would like more resources. So we're not starving one to do the other. We are doing both at the same time. And you know, we've been making a point to be very deliberate, and I think it's been paying off, and it's going to pay off in the long run. So.
Yeah, when Wayne retired, he said, here's 2 data centers, here's double digit AV, you're welcome. So he did not have that luxury. And so, yeah, it's a good problem to have. Absolutely.
So 2750 would be 7.3%. Is that correct?
With
rolling the base.
With rolling,
Plus
so
rolling.
7.3. So we're making sure we're saying.
Do we need to make 2 separate motions, one to roll the base and one to do the added? Or do
We could
need-
combine.
I don't, in the past, they have.
They have, okay.
Maybe it's 2 separate
So
Yeah, one to roll the schedule and the second would be to add 2750 to C10.
Okay, let's do the first.
I would make a motion to roll the schedule.
Second.
Oh, you were first. You.
Oh, we're doing roll the schedule first?
Sorry.
Schedule. Is there any more discussion on
You want-
rolling the schedule?
Don't vote for that. It's not a vote.
Or do you want to roll? Yeah, if it's not in there, you want to roll call?
Let's do a roll call vote. Yeah.
Okay,
Roll call vote for rolling the schedule.
okay, starting with Ms. Cudd.
Yes. Joe?
Yes.
Susan? Yes. Scott?
Yes.
Whitney?
Yes.
Brooke?
Yes.
And just a reminder, this was passed in a previous meeting, but that schedule now has 26 steps instead of 25.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you.
And A and C going away, which greatly improves our
Starting
A1
to begin.
Yeah,
salary.
first year teachers and
Thank you.
And I would make a motion to add 2750 to C10 on the salary schedule.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, please vote. Motion passes. Good work, everybody. Okay. Next up, Energy Services RFQ.
No. Oh, you want to go?
Yeah.
Okay. Sounds good.
Speak to this much more.
Okay, no
diligently.
problem. So a couple months ago, Smithville School District put out an RFQ, which is a request for qualification to procure bids from Energy Services Company to look over some of the criteria we had, and that included, the business and structure of their financial strength, included project experience, project development and implementation approach, demonstrated commissioning, and financial summary. And so we had 3 bidders came in and basically presented their qualifications, and those were Navitas, Verigy, and GRP. Dr. Moss and I took all 3 RFQs, read through them front to back, called folks, asked questions, clarifying questions, and then graded each one based on their criteria that you have in the memo here. And both of us agreed that Navitas presented the best qualifications for what we were looking for. And this evening I have Mr. Rob Gardner and Mr. Luke Lindy Smith here with Navitas to give just a quick little presentation about Navitas and some of the things they can do for our district in regards to efficiencies and energy savings.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. Thank you for the opportunity. We really appreciate it. Again, I'm Rob Gardner, and this is Luke Lindy Smith. We're from Navitas, and we're thankful for the opportunity to present a couple just brief slides, answer some questions that you may have about what we do and how we do it. So please stop us at any point in time. You have questions. That's what we're here for tonight. So I don't know who's in charge of Robert.
I got it. Yep.
Okay.
Just tell me when
All right.
I'll go.
We start with just a brief overview of our history, who we are. We are solely focused on energy services. That's the only thing that our company does. We don't do anything else. So we feel like since we're kind of sole focused, we're pretty good at that. We are kind of lasered in. We're not diverted multiple different pathways. We're a Midwest company. We're based out of Olathe. I actually live 15 minutes south of here, so I'm very familiar with the area. I think one of the tenets that we have is we treat people like we're like kind of the Midwest value system. We want them to honor our integrity, our word. It means something to us. We have a passion for what we do. A lot of people have been in this business a lot of years, and they do it for one reason and one reason only. It's because they believe in what we do and how we do it. We have a strong history of working with clients like school districts and public entities, and we're proud of our performance. I don't know how many people were on the review of the RFQ, but we put a lot of thought and effort into providing some local school districts and cities that are neighbors of Smithville or Clay County or Platte County, just to kind of show that we're not new to the area, that we've actually worked alongside and partnered with a lot of the districts that you share boundaries with, and listed them as our references, because how else are you supposed to know if we're good at what we do than ask people that we've done business with, right? So those are listed there on the right hand side of the slide as well. People want to know what we do. Well, essentially what we do under a state statute is we are a mechanism that a lot of public entities and school districts use to pay for renovations or construction projects, right? And there are three buckets that they can leverage. One of them is the energy savings. The other one is operational and maintenance savings. And the other one is capital avoidance. You had to replace it at some point in time, or it's going to wear out, right? So you could take one of those or all three of them. And if by doing that, you can pay for the renovation or the construction over a 15-year period, you're allowed to do that. And that provides a lot of opportunities for districts that might be up against their bonding capacity or whatnot. And a lot of districts take advantage of that opportunity. Here's that slide. Perfect. Some of the financial benefits of doing something like working with an ESCO and a company like ourselves is we're really specialized in looking and investigating, kind of beating the bushes for those incentives and rebates. Since that's the only thing that we do, we're constantly looking at state, federal opportunities for incentives and things that might pay from 30 to 50% of some of the projects that you guys or other districts and entities might be looking at, particularly like solar or ground source energy. That those things are something that we would help you procure and put into the project to save you money. Another thing is it obviously, we think that if we're looking at and we're going through with a fine-tooth comb and looking at your systems, they might not be running the way you think they are running. So we're going to tell you, hey, to optimize this, here's our recommendation. You can take it or leave it, but it's almost like a tune-up for your car. We know that every once in a while, we've got to take it in and get the tires aligned and the engine tuned up. It runs more efficiently. And that's true with all systems that you have, HVAC, your air conditioning and all those types of things. So we find that people don't really look or think about that until it's broke. But we know with regular maintenance and routine TLC, things just last longer. And so we listed a couple of those pieces. Ultimately, we want to make sure that the dollars are spent most effectively, because we know it impacts kids. I'm a retired school administrator. I worked at Platte County my entire career. I know how important it is. And you guys just spoke about it. You have to retain quality staff. And the best way to do that is maximize the dollars that you have. And this is, we believe, a venue or an avenue to allow districts to do that. So Luke is going to walk through a couple of examples of districts that we work with and how we've done projects with them, and certainly allow you guys to ask us questions when we're through.
Thanks, Rob. So I guess we kind of talked about a couple different examples. Like Rob mentioned, we have worked with Platte County and both North Kansas City. And then the other one on the third one down is Oak Grove School District. So at Platte County, so one thing that these projects do is it allows you to take care of facility projects and either utilize capital dollars that you have, bond dollars, or you could potentially even utilize some lease purchases to pay for those projects. So here's a project, Platte County School District. So some of these examples on here, your district has actually already done a few of the things that we would consider maybe low-hanging fruit. But at Platte County, you can kind of see that project implementation list that was completed. And then on the right, this is a before where their district utilities, and this is broke down. It's called Energy Use Index. So what it allows is companies like us to go around and look at, your elementary school compared to Platte County's elementary school. And so if, before the project at Platte County, so the blue line would show like an elementary or a middle or a high school, kind of their energy use index. And then that second line is where their building is operating after implementation of those projects. Like I mentioned, some of those are LED, which I believe the district has kind of completed across the district as a whole. The other pieces that we would look at is building automation system. You guys do have a pretty robust, kind of from some of the things we've looked at already, a fairly robust system. There oftentimes is just efficiencies that we can gain just by sequence of operations. So sometimes there's not a huge mechanical need, and sometimes there is. And so there could be some inefficiencies that the district has that we could look through and, start to identify those, put together a plan. Hey, if you fix this, it could save you an X amount of dollars. So that's Platte County. Overall, I believe that district saved about 35% off their utility bills. So oftentimes as we look at these projects, depending on where your starting line is, we see anywhere from about 20 to 35% energy savings right off the top of the utility bills. So the next one, mine's scrolling down. So North Kansas City. So this is as you can see up there, there was 4 phases that were completed at North Kansas City, similar to Platte County, district-wide lighting, building automation system, some HVAC upgrades. One of the unique things at North Kansas City is they were up against their bonding capacity. So this enabled them to go out, continue to take care of their existing facilities, but also to continue to build new buildings through bonds. And so that is one of the unique advantages of this, is utilizing existing capital dollars or dollars that you can redirect for facility upgrades. Similar graph, this shows the EUI for district-wide at North Kansas City. So the blue and the green added together was their district-wide EUI before implementation of the project. As you can see, this was done over 4 phases. So what I'm showing up here is year 1, 2, 3, and 4, or 1, 2, 3. You can kind of see that savings on the top. And then at year 4, I think that was when we finalized and completed all 4 phases. So there, it was a kind of a phased approach through those 4 years. But again, similar story. They saved about 30+%. One of the unique things too, that I think, you might ask, like, hey, we could just hire an architect, have a CM do this project. So at North Kansas City, if you're familiar with Staley High School, that building was built brand new with efficiencies in mind. It was actually one of their worst performing schools on the district campus. So going in, we didn't do any mechanical upgrades, just changing some sequences operations on the building automation system, commissioning it. One of those lines is retro commissioning a mechanical system. So generally the approach is to look at everything as a district, kind of look at high level. Is there anywhere that we can complete those inefficiencies or help on those? And so that was one where I think they saved like 38% just off of making some sequence of changes. So there's sometimes those opportunities. The next graph. So this is one at Oak Grove. So what this shows is utility spend. So what we sometimes look at is your existing budgets and how can we help kind of crunch the numbers. So at Oak Grove, if you look back from 2010 to 2017 is just their utility spend off of their ASBR. You kind of see a tracking up in utility costs. And then 2018, 2019 is actually utility bills that we took in, looked at, made sure, what those costs were. And then as we go forward with these projects, what we generally do is look kind of at a district as a whole for 3 years and say, your utility spend has been, like at Oak Grove, for example, on average over 3 years was about 600,000. So we'll set a baseline moving forward from that point. As you implement that project, we think you're going to save X amount of dollars. And then that 600,000, if you were to equate that over 15 years, even if you were to stay at the same kilowatt hour consumption or the EUI, your costs are just going to go up. Kind of like you see, you buy a gallon of milk, it goes up over the next several years. So as you see that graph kind of climbs up, the green is where we projected the new utility spend, and then the orange would be that savings. So that savings does grow over the years as your energy cost would go up. So it's just kind of a more of a visible. You guys know what I'm saying. So that's Oak Grove. The next slide is actually, so this is your guys' utilities. One thing that we did ask for in the qualification phase was, hey, can we look at what your utility bills are? I will mention one of the unique things. So actually our owner of our company did a project with Smithville schools, I think about 2007. So similar to Platte County in North Kansas City. Back then you guys had pretty high EUIs. So you guys did a project similar to this about 15 years ago. And so as you see on that graph or on the right, the fourth column over is your EUIs by building. So you guys are currently at 44 kBTUs per square foot. It's a decent spot. You do have solar in several of your buildings, and LED lighting is oftentimes a big piece of that. So there's definitely still some opportunities for savings, maybe not as drastic as you would see kind of from Platte County and North Kansas City. But I do think your guys' facility team has already done a fantastic job of trying to, where can we save energy? So solar was a big one. I think the district completed either 2012 or 2013 timeframe. If you go back kind of that graph that I showed you on Oak Grove, if you guys look back at your ASBR from like 2005 through to today, you'll see some drop-offs on your utility spends. So you guys have done a really good job to this point of trying to get those efficiencies taken. I think where maybe we could complement on some of that is with the operation, the sequences and building automation system. The other thing I'd point out here on the graph on the left is you kind of see your administrative building is a little bit higher than all of your other schools. That's fairly common. This building is used 12 months of the year generally. So, and the other buildings, sometimes some spaces are utilized, but you guys do a good job of starting to schedule those buildings. The other things I'd point out, as you see the EUIs don't always follow directly with the cost per square foot. So for example, on Eagle Heights, you have an EUI of 44, but a cost per square foot of $1.10. Generally what we see there is, so that cost is a little bit higher. And then you go look down, you might see Horizon EUIs at 47, but cost per square foot is $1. What we see is a building that has electric heat generally has a higher cost, but a better EUI. So if you have gas heat, gas is just less expensive. So that building has a system that has electric heat. Not right or wrong, but generally you can get a better EUI out of a building like that. So, and also that building, I believe, does not have solar. So that could also be affecting some of that as well. So I think that's, so kind of the steps of this project. So currently you're kind of between the red and the yellow. So that's kind of when you go through an RFQ phase. So we did some of that preliminary stuff, some of the someone looking at your utilities, go through the RFQ phase. So the next steps for us is generally go through an investment grade audit. So what does that look like? So what we would do in the next phase would send an engineer through, start to look at all your buildings, all your mechanical systems, your windows, your lights. I think there's a lot that's already LED, if I'm not mistaken, all of it. And then take those, each piece, if you have a 20-year-old HVAC system, look at that and say, okay, if this HVAC system utilizes or it costs your district 100,000 kilowatt hours of consumption. If we replace that with a new efficient system, we think there'll be 25,000 kilowatt hours of energy savings associated with that. And then, so what we'll do is break down line item how this building has lights, HVAC, and the line item that out with your utility bills. And then also write scopes of work from an engineering side to get those pieces of project bid out. So then what it ends up looking like from a district standpoint is, these are our best energy savings items, and here's the associated cost with that. These are our most capital intense items, and here's the energy savings with that. And oftentimes what ends up happening is, some make sense, some don't. And so one of the other ones, like Fort Osage, their criteria was this has to fully fund itself from energy savings or operational savings. So we try to help kind of line that out and build a project that really fully meets the needs of the district. Any questions on that?
Do you offer any like guarantees of your project's recommendations that we might take up?
Yeah, so the way these projects work, we are required by the state statute to provide a guarantee back to the district. So the way that works is once we get, once we've line itemed out, this HVAC equipment's going to save 25,000 kilowatt hours. The district, if they don't get that savings, then it would be on us to write the check back to the district. So yes, we do provide a guarantee.
We're at the step now doing the audit. Looking at doing the audit would be the next step.
Yep.
Now, have we, if we approve this tonight, would the, I know that there's still conversations about some of the remaining capital projects in the next several years. And I know that several of us have had questions about it, but how would that work as far as taking input and making sure that that is included in the energy, the audit part of it, if that's what we end up doing?
Yeah, so what would you be approving tonight is Navitas to do the investment grade audit. And they would do that audit, and then they would bring a recommendation of projects to bring to you. In our RFQ, we said 3 to 5 million. So they identify the best projects to do fit within that 3 to 5 million. And then from there, you would then vote again to implement those projects. So this doesn't box you in to saying you're going to do 3 to 5 million worth of projects. This is just saying we're going to hire Navitas to do the investment grade audit. If you chose to do 0 products, there would be a small charge of 5 cents per square foot for them to do that investment grade audit. And then of course, if you do the projects, all that's built in, and we would look at finding different ways to fund that, probably through lease purchase, but we would utilize Raymond James and their expertise to see how we could fund that. Some ways you can fund it, you could use project savings from this last bond for part of it. You could use a bond in 2026 if you wanted to. You could phase it like they did with North Kansas City with some different phases. And then of course is a lease purchase. So we have a lot of options on the table that we could use to fund the different projects they would represent after the investment grade audit. And correct me, anything you guys have to that.
How would I know you have a fairly extensive roofing plan that you put together as well as a HVAC plan. How does that fold in with this?
What do you guys see on percentage wise for roofing on savings?
So roofs actually don't generally save a ton of energy. The biggest side of the roofing savings is generally an operational maintenance savings. So, but actually I mentioned Fort Osage. That was actually one of their challenges. So back to Raymond James. So we're not specific financial advisors in no means, but they ended up utilizing a longer lease purchase on pieces like roofs that are going to last 20, 25 years. And so they could utilize all of the savings to fully fund that piece. So there's definitely options. And so that generally, what ends up happening is kind of from the investment grade audit is there's several workshops. So kind of the first, we walk the buildings with our engineer, start to get a high level of like, here's all the different district needs. Like we've seen, if, for example, maybe, I think we talked maybe Eagle Heights has a system that's had some challenges. So that may be on one of them. And so as you go through that, it's trying to educate you and say, there may be some opportunities at helping just with the building control system here to make it a little bit better, or as you look at it. And so what we try to do is generally that IGA is we do several workshops. So starting kind of look at it. I like to kind of explain it as like, it's a big ball of clay at the beginning. And then as we start to go through it and you have all these lists, we'll start to identify, this one we think will save this many dollars or kilowatt hours, and then kind of equate that back to dollars. So then you can kind of look at, okay, if we spend, $1 million here, will we save 100,000 here? Does that make sense? Or do we spend 3 million and it saves, only 80,000? And so the goal is really to start that big ball of clay, and then as we go through the investment grade audit, mold it to exactly what meets the needs of the district. And sometimes goes in phases. Sometimes it takes 5-10 years to implement that plan. But sometimes it could be roofs inside of that plan as well.
And we'll do roofing, for example, even though it may not save us that much, you're still going to do this as a part of the audit, right? To just at least do the analysis.
Might as well, look at all options and see what works. Yeah.
That's what I would prefer that we're doing. And I guess, we've been so busy with, in the finance committee with other things. I know that we briefly touched on deferred maintenance projects and stuff like that. But for instance, HVAC at Eagle Heights with the warranties coming up here in the next couple of years. I just want to make sure that we have, if we're going to do the audit, that we have as many projects looked at as possible. I would not want us to narrow it. I would like us to look at the bigger picture and then we work down as we speak. So
Is 3 to 5 million a pretty good goal for a district our size?
So generally, I think we see just project cost is about $1,000 a student. So I don't know how many students you have, but it's maybe you guys are like 2,300 students.
2,500.
2,500, so 2.5 million. That's what it used to be. I think now that cost of construction inflation has went kind of crazy.
Yeah.
Probably a little bit more. So 3 million is pretty reasonable for
Okay.
a lot oftentimes. And oftentimes the goal of this is, I think you guys have done a fantastic job at trying to keep up on deferred maintenance. At some point, sometimes there's a point of trying to, how can we get back to square one? So that's oftentimes, so we look at anything that's infrastructure of the building. Back to Rob mentioned earlier, is we don't build any new facilities. It is all infrastructure. So it's roofs, windows, doors, lights, HVAC. And that's really the only thing that we focus on as a
Besides utility bills, another way we could save is one of the last places we haven't done LED is the Performing Arts Center. And so we're starting to run into troubles with trying to replace those lights because they're the old T8s. And so, our maintenance crew has to remove all the seats, bring the lift in, take it up, change the bulb. If we go to LEDs, one, it's gone to LED so much that they can now order bulbs again instead of trying to find stuff on eBay. And two, our maintenance crew doesn't have to constantly move seats in and out to change those out. So it can play both sides. We'll save on utility bills, but also save operationally because we won't have as many work orders in the pack.
Sure.
Yeah.
yeah, I just want us to have more information, not less.
Yeah.
Upfront, and for us to consider as much as possible. So
our consideration tonight is only to approve for the audit, the energy audit.
that's all we're doing. And then the bigger conversations down the road.
Okay.
So
Got it.
great.
Make
Any
a
other-
motion to approve the energy services RFQ as presented.
All right, do we have a second? All right, any other discussion? Please vote.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you guys.
Thank you.
Have a good evening.
All right, next up, Maple Plate preschool playground bids.
Yes, so you may know we have our preschool house at Eagle Heights Elementary. And when we added the wing to that elementary school, we built a playground specific to kids that age that had play structures for kids of that size that they could utilize. And with the preschool, some of the preschool kids moving to Maple Elementary, we wanted to make sure that they had the same opportunity that they had at Eagle Heights to have a specific playground for them. Yes, it is specific for them, but it can be ages, kindergarten, first grade, second grade, and all those kids kind of in that age range. And so Dr. Moss came to me early this spring and asked me to look at getting bids to create something like we had at Eagle Heights. And so I worked with Andrea Ambrosian. She brought together the staff at Eagle and those preschool teachers and the ECSE teachers to look at the play structures, what the kids enjoyed, what they played on, what they ignored and didn't play at all. And I can let Andrea talk more to that process. And then we were able to come together and decide on some structures that we felt like would be the best for Maple Elementary. And we took that information to our architect, DLR. DLR created the construction drawings. And then based on those specifications, Jay Dunn took those out to bid. And they, you see the results of that bid tonight. You also, in the memo, it kind of explains what those costs are. About $57,000 that cost is for Miracle Playground for the actual equipment itself that will be installed, and they will be doing the installation to that. I did pull that out and worked with Miracle myself instead of Jay Dunn, because Jay Dunn is paid on a percentage, and so pulling that out, reduced that their part as well. So be happy to answer any questions you have on the bids and the project overall.
With one comment on this, like the sorry.
No, you're good. We'll get in later. You're good.
One thing I did want to note on here, when you start adding in from a construction perspective, multiple contractors, site concrete, fences and gates, a playground surface, you have earthwork, site utilities. That's really where I've had questions about the bond before, but I would, on this project specifically, I would say that is where a construction manager is really necessary, because if we don't have someone to manage the schedule between those people, we don't have that within the district. So having a construction manager to be able to manage those contractors and that schedule and that timing is really critical, especially since we would really want this start of school year. Right. It's kind of time sensitive for the most part.
Yeah, I was worried at first, honestly, to be able to pull this off to get this done this summer. I had beads of sweat come to my face. When do you want this playground? And so DLR and Jay done a fantastic job of pulling this together quickly and getting this out on the street to be able to bid on, to get multiple bidders. Because a lot of times those schedules fill up fast.
Yeah,
and
absolutely.
So yeah, I was pleased to be able to get this so quickly.
I have a couple questions.
Sure, absolutely.
So when I received the documents that I had asked for, and I added up, the request was for 275,000.
That's correct.
When I added that up, it was 257,390.52.
Correct.
Where's the $17,000 gap?
Yes, and so we pay DLR to do the construction design on that, and then also the engineers come in and do their site survey as well. And so those are considered what they call soft costs, and so those make up the remainder of that difference.
I just didn't see those in the breakdown. That was one thing I had. The other question I have is, I know that this was part of the, you would explain the master plan. When I specifically looked at the master plan that you sent, this project was for Maple, was for turf. It did not include that. So according to our policy, the FEF1 policy, I'm not sure that our bidding process was handled according to policy. J.E. Dunn would not be proper under their contract since this wasn't a part of the master plan. So I'm just curious how we avoid that.
Sure. So when you have the ballot language basically lists the main projects that are typically, $500,000 to $1 million or more. Then it also says, basically talks about other improvements that are needed. This does tie nicely into the other turf playgrounds that we did in 2020. So before we used to have mulch everywhere, wasn't accessible for our kids. And so we even had a kid come to the board and speak to that they couldn't go on our playgrounds. So in 2020, that was a main project of that. And so, what this project is kind of an extension of 2020 where, we have kids now at Maple that are preschool age that we didn't have before. And so how are we going to provide them with a place like we did back in 2020 to do those playgrounds? So the verbiage in the ballot language does allow us to use savings and interest earned and things like that to do projects. And this one I feel like fits very well with what we did in the past in 2020.
So is the master plan approved by the board?
The master plan is approved by the board, but it is kind of a guiding document. It's kind of like your CSIP, like the CSIP's approved by the board, but it doesn't just live on a shelf. It is in constant change, constant motion. As things change with the district, it also changes. And so then the board, each bonding project, like for example, the last one, we brought in the community again, got their input, what we felt was important, and then they approved that individual bond project. So it is just a guiding document. It isn't to say, like, for example, in 2030, it has us building a brand new elementary because of population growth.
Mhm.
Well, we don't have that population growth. So we wouldn't say, well, back in 2020, we voted on that master plan to build that building. We're still going to build it. It really is just a guiding document to guide you And then as you go along the way, you make decisions based on information at the time.
And Joe, I think something, yeah, we have brought up that the master plan is way off because we've done things differently. And I've asked, and we are going to re-look at our master plan because I do agree with you. We are very much, we've done things because we had to, the transportation things, but it sort of has thrown off the master plan. for
So
sure.
as we toggle and pivot,
Sure.
Does that have to go back to the board for approval of change of a master plan? Because I feel like it hasn't necessarily done that. And I'm not criticizing, I just got here.
Sure.
I'm an outside
Sure.
looking in. It doesn't look like it's been
Right.
journeyed properly, especially with our policies. So
But yeah, I think the major wrench in the whole process was the transportation facility and the bus company selling. So it did change the master plan in general, but it has been something after we were finished allocating those projects via the bond. We were going to go back and start talking about projects for the near future.
Yeah.
And probably revising basically that entire master plan. And that will probably be way more than the board. It'll probably include community engagement and everything. So,
The master plan being more of a, like you said, a guideline for us as opposed to a voted on strict playbook that we are going to follow. I think that's it, viewing it in those two separate lights.
well, I was just curious because I know that on that plan, some of the projects that maybe Navitas would be doing might fall under that, which would then allow J.E. Dunn. I mean, they're making almost 50,000 on this playground project. So I'm just curious.
FYI on that, if any projects that Navitas does,
Mhm.
they would be the build and design. So J Dunn would not be part of that process. And so Navitas would handle that completely. Missouri has a state statute that talks about different ways that public entities can do construction projects. You can do construction manager at risk. You can do construction manager where the district's at risk. You can do general contractor. There's all different ways. And then that statute that Luke was talking about is for ESCOs. And so they would do the construction under that. It can get complicated on when you have tax, dollars for a public entity on how it has to be done. And so there's just different ways to do it. And that would fall under the ESCO statute. And so J Dunn would not be part of that process.
I just had sorry.
No, you go.
I just had a question on, it says it's going to be paid for from bond savings. We don't have much bond saving.
I should have put bond savings / interest.
Okay.
We have
Okay.
about $1 million in interest.
Okay, that's what I didn't catch. 'Cause
Yeah.
I'm looking here and I'm thinking, no, we don't. How are we going to do that? Okay.
Yep. And so, we don't know what that savings number will be yet. We anticipate it, but until you cross the finish line with all your
We've
projects,
already got the interest.
but how we're tracking, we do anticipate some savings as well as the interest. We also have, just FYI, we also have our fund for, is somewhere between 2.5 and $3 million that we have in reserves in fund for. And it's just your rainy day fund, right? Just like Dave Ramsey talks about having a couple months reserves. It's just reserves just in case something were to happen. We have our deductible, a high deductible on our property insurance because that keeps going up. And so if that did happen, we have that money to then, Randy remembers when we got hit by lightning back years ago and had to spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on revamping that whole thing. We had to eat that first part of that deductible. And so we do have that money in fund for too.
Thank you. I was sure there was something I just didn't know. Thank you.
Yeah, no problem.
In the previous bond as well, there is still a small piece.
There is. Yep. There's about 130,000 left over in the 2027. Yep.
Are we using some of the older bonds?
I'll defer to Dr. Moss if he wants to use that up as part of this, or if he wants to use it for something else, or it's there.
Yeah, it fits very nicely with that turf style project that was there. Was it originally part of the scope? No. Because of Eagles growth is one of the reasons we're moving those preschools classrooms down there. So it's become that new need that we have.
Yeah. And I did get from Jay Dunn, just so you know, what I have presented tonight is the winners in each scope. I have every single bid from them as well. So if you would like that, I'd be happy to send that to you as well. So you can see the individual bidders in each scope, not just the winner and what that total cost is. So I can provide that to you as well.
So at the end of the day, we're talking about a playground for preschoolers, and I'm so excited
Yes.
for them. Can we
Yes.
what is their future?
I know. Let Andrea talk a little bit about the kids and the playground and
Yeah.
Obviously, we'll be super excited, not just for our preschool kids, but for our early childhood kids. So we've had early childhood kids that have been attending Maple and they haven't had the playground.
You're talking.
Our Maple student, early childhood kids have not had the opportunity to have a playground that fits them and their needs, especially when we have students with special needs and some of their physical limitations. So we've really had to be creative with those kids, but it'll be so exciting to be able to get our early childhood and our preschool classrooms to be able to use equipment that meets their needs. So our teachers are excited. They've been a little nervous about what is it going to look like for playground if we don't have something that fits them, because the slides are very tall, the steps, those types of things. And so, you know, the first time most of you guys have kids, what do they want to do? They want to go jump off of it. And so we really have to safety is an issue right now for our early childhood students. So this will be very beneficial for them and very excited.
Do we have, so we don't have a design of it in our packet, correct? Do we not have?
I'm not sure if Robert provided the design. It will be very similar to what we have at Eagle Heights. There's a few structures on there that might be a little different, but it'll be very similar to what Eagle Heights has right now.
So there wasn't anything discovered that they don't like at Eagle Heights?
So at Eagle Heights, there's a ladybug that is there, one of the little rocking type ladybugs, and they don't really use that. And so obviously we won't be purchasing that. We wanted something for balls at Eagle Heights. The playground is close to the windows. And then there's a long fence. And so we haven't been able to put like a little basketball or a shooting hoop, but we're able to do that at Maple. The guys were able to help figure out what we could do for that. There's a few other little housing things that will be fun for our kids at their level, especially some of our kids that have some physical limitations where they can get in and do some different fine motor and gross motor activities.
One of the advantages of having an architect and a construction manager do this project is liability. And so if Robert Hedgeworth just turned over a piece of paper and drew a quick design and talked to an excavator and some kid got hurt and then a parent came back and said, what do you mean? This was designed by somebody that does not have an architectural degree, no engineering degree, has no idea how to create these structures. It would create a huge liability for the district. So that's another reason why we utilize an architect and a construction manager for this project.
Okay.
I think we should go to it and test it out when the time.
Yeah, that's right.
I will.
They have
From August 1,
they have a cool trike path.
Yeah.
Like those kids get on those trikes and they go.
We have a trike path. We have
They love
little
it.
balance bikes for some of our kiddos to learn how with balance and different things. So it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
Thank you both for your work on it.
Yeah, no problem. It was fun to collaborate and pick the structures.
All right, do we have a motion?
So moved.
Second.
You have any further discussion? If not, please vote.
I was going.
Motion carries.
Thank you.
All right, next up, building strategic improvement plans.
About this,
That was quite a bit to read there.
about this time last year, the board approved our continuous improvement plan, the current one that we are operating under. And it has been our practice that when we have a new CSIP, then the following year, our buildings create BSIPs that are parallel plans that support the district plan, but also meet the unique needs of the building. And so a big shout out to our building principals and their staffs for taking this process seriously throughout this year and developing these plans. So just a little background information. We had a common lesson plan for this process. So each building did an exploration of what makes them unique using the data that is meaningful to them. They conducted a SWOT analysis for their building. They did a deep dive into our mission statement, our value statements, the strategic pillars of our current CSIP, the portrait of a graduate, and used all of that information then to identify some areas where they wanted to go a little bit deeper and meet the needs of their building in a way that complemented what we're doing at the district level. So what you have in your packet is a summary of those strategic plans along with the plans for 4 of our buildings. Our high school needs just 1 more month to finish theirs up, and so we'll present that in June. But Randy, could you please go to the next slide? Go back one. There you go. The directive was for them to choose 3 to 4 strategic pillars from the district plan and use that as a guide for their buildings. One of those had to be academic achievement. So you'll see that they followed that directive very, very well. And that's always been a priority to them. I didn't have to tell them that, to be honest. But you can see in this first graphic how the buildings chose to address or, which things from our district plan resonated with them and rose to the top as being priorities for each building. So there's a little variety, and you would expect that. Each building has their unique needs, and these plans need to be things that are meaningful and important at the building level and not just a replication of what's at the district level. I've also included just some highlights for each of these pillars. So if you could go to the next one, please, Randy. I've pulled just some of the strategic action steps that they have created to support. And there are others, but these are just nice examples. And what I liked about it is the variety that each of them show as far as how each building is going about supporting academic excellence amongst their students. And the next one relates to strong community partnerships. So you can see again the variety of ways in which the buildings will address that. And then innovative faculty. Expanded learning opportunities. There were 2 buildings that addressed that in their strategic plan.
Do you have ideas on the community service day? Middle school.
Mr. Winterboard, do you want to share, or is it a surprise?
So that's where we're at.
Okay.
And so to be honest, I don't want to share a specific decision because we haven't finalized what that would be. But yeah, we're excited about that.
So that brings up a good point. It kind of parallels what Robert was talking about earlier with the facilities plan. The things that are solid and concrete in our CSIP are the strategic pillars. The action steps that fall under those may evolve and change based upon what your current reality is. For example, if we say we want to, well, let's use cooperative learning from 2 strategic planning sessions ago. Our objective was to provide PD for our teachers that would increase student engagement. If there was something other than cooperative learning that would do that better than cooperative learning, then we had the freedom to do that. Does that make sense? And so you don't know what's going to come up that would be available to us, or a need that may come up that we're not aware of right now. And so we may find that these specific action steps in the plan evolve and change a little bit over time. So that's a good example. And we do look at these plans on a 5-year timeline. So we're not going to do everything the first year. We've got to pace ourselves or we're going to kill ourselves. So, but yeah, it'll be exciting to see what you guys come up with. And the last, go ahead.
So, and just so like when we established our timeline, the community service was not for next school year. It's for the following school years when we hope to begin that process. And so that's just another example on why we don't have the final, decisions on what that's going to look like. But that's kind of how it works. So.
And then the last pillar are none of our buildings chose outstanding facilities, not because they are not interested in it, but doesn't really fall under their, they're not able to control that like they are the others. The last is student-centered culture. And so every building also had that as a priority, which love that actually. And again, a big thank you to all of our building administrators and staff. This is a very long process. It takes a lot of time and energy and thought. And I think as you look at their plans that they have presented to you this evening, that you'll see that thought and intentionality was definitely there. So there's no action on this evening. We just wanted to share with you the culmination of their work. Be able to give an opportunity to give them a shout out and a pat on the back for the work that they have done, but also so that you know that not only are we working on those strategic pillars from the district perspective, we're also doing it from each individual building.
Okay, great. Any more questions? Info only.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Next item. Supplemental pay A for May 2024.
Nichols has to.
Nichols. All right.
Karen usually tees it up for us to make sure we don't have that mistake.
There you go. Happy. Good job, Susan.
It's mislabeled. It says May 2023. It should be May 2023.
Okay, good job. Okay, is there a motion on the floor?
So moved.
Second.
Second, is there any discussion around this? If not, please vote.
Yeah.
All right, motion passes. Mr. Nichols abstained. Next item. Supplemental pay BC for May 2024. Do we have abstentions?
Me.
Ms. Carlisle, okay. Do we have a motion on the floor?
So moved.
We have a second.
Second.
Station and Brooke.
Yeah.
Is there any discussion? If not, please vote. Motion passes. One abstention. All right, next up. Approve board self-evaluation minutes for May 2020 or March 20th, 2024. Brooke and Miss Perkins and Miss Pruitt to abstain on this, make sure. Do we have a motion on the floor?
So moved. Second.
All right, there's a second. If any discussion? If not, please vote. Great, motion carries. Adjourn the meeting. There a motion to adjourn the meeting?
So moved.
So moved.
Second.
Second. Any discussion? Please vote. We'll make sure.
Thank you, everybody, and I'll see you Friday.
Okay.
Bye, guys.
Thank you.
I was like, was there another?